Right, so today we are going to start seated. Just remember though, if this isn't, you're not happy with this morning, then please just change the position. You can be on your shins, you can legs spring out wide, resting your hands either inside of your legs or just on your knees. So for these first couple of minutes, we're just going to work on just slowing everything down, just centering our attention. So lifting it through the spine, let your shoulders drop from the ears, heart radiating up. And let's guide our attention to our breath now. Taking the breath in through the back of the nose, back of the throat. And exhaling. Either use your eye method or keeping your mouth open if you prefer. Find the depth of the breath. Taking yourself to that number that works for you. So that count should be on the inhale and the same on the exhale. And where possible, we want to try and keep this pace throughout the class as well. Or at least just take those moments to return back to it. A few more moments here. So keeping your eyes closed, we're going to do some neck stretches now. So taking the hands onto the knees and just dropping the chin down to the chest. We're going to start with quarter circles. So rolling the right ear towards the right shoulder. Make sure we're still pressing down through that left shoulder though. That's where the stretch should be found. And then going through centre and over to the other side. So just quarters to begin. And taking the chin back down to the chest, either doing the same again or working on half circles. So taking the ear around to the right, nice and gently, and letting your head just fall back. And then rolling back down to centre. And then over to the other side. And chin back down to chest. So if you do feel any sort of little crunchy type feelings or hear those crunchy type noises, but it's really normal to feel that. As long as you don't feel any pain associated to it, it's not anything to worry about. So taking the ear, we're going to do full circles now if that feels okay for you. Going around to the right, gently let the head fall back, rolling round, chin down to the chest. And on through the other side. Lifting the head up, opening the eyes. We're going to do backward shoulder rolls. And then forward shoulder rolls. And then resting at centre, taking the hands to prayer. We're going to inhale, lift the hands up. And then we're going to take the hands behind our back. If you can find prayer pose and reach to there, but if not, grab hold of the elbows or the wrists. But what we're trying to do is open up the chest a little bit here. Let's take a breath here. And then inhale, lifting the arms back up, stretching up over the head. And exhale, hands down to heart. Taking another breath here. Inhale, lifting through the arms. Exhale, bringing them behind you again, that same position, whatever works for you. And then inhale, lifting up. Exhale to heart. So pressing the palms together. One more round. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bring them behind. Inhale, lift up. And then coming into a twist. So taking the left hand onto the right knee, right hand behind, lift through the spine, taking the gaze back. And through center again, hands to prayer lift. And over to the other side. Through center again, hands to prayer. And then take a handstand in front of us, just going to do some gentle wrist warm up. So gentle fist, a few times around one way. And then reversing the direction. And again, just a couple more times each way. Just make some big spider shapes with our fingers, so spreading the fingertips out as wide as you can. Wonderful, and let's find your way then onto your hands and your knees. We're going to do a few rounds of cat-cow here, so line yourself up in your tabletop. And then when we're ready, we're going to inhale, move into our cow, head up, tailbone up. And then exhale, curling around, so pressing through the shoulders, through the arms, sucking the belly button in. Inhale, lift. And exhale. Couple more times, inhale, lift. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Bringing ourselves to neutral spine. We're going to do a little thread the needle now. So we're going to take the weight into our left hand as we lift up through the right arm. And we're going to thread that right arm underneath the left, coming onto our shoulder. So this left hand is either staying here, letting the shoulder come back. We're going to take it behind our back, trying to grab hold of our t-shirt or our thigh, or taking it over the ear, coming onto the fingertips. So we're trying to find a twist, and we're going to open through the chest and the shoulder here too. So just see what works best for you out of those options. And gently coming out of the pose, back onto our hands and our knees. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Taking the weight into the right, so you lift up and open through the left, and then sliding it underneath. Working through your options again, either staying here, behind, or over the ear. And then gently coming back onto your hands and your knees. We're going to hook the toes and just lift ourselves up and ready for a side stretch. So taking the hands to prayer, lift up. And then right hand down, right side as we stretch out. So don't worry about your fingertips necessarily getting to the ground. We're just trying to stay in that straight line as we come over. So try not to bring the bum down towards the heels. Bring yourself through centre lift. And the other side. So one side is likely to feel a little bit tighter than the other. And through centre, hands to prayer. We're going to just sit ourselves onto our heel. We're going to move into a puppy pose variation. So you want to unhook your feet. Take your hands out in front of us. We're just going to lift our bum off our heels slightly. Come onto our fingertips and let our chest just hang down towards the ground. This is a variation of the normal puppy pose. We will go into the full pose later on in the flow. So just try and let gravity do its job a little bit and just hang the chest down, feeling that stretch through the shoulders. And then gently lifting ourselves up, we're going to come up again and come into our supported camel. So coming on, holding onto the lower spine, taking the hips forward, chest up. Forgot what it was all called then. Bringing ourselves up through neutral and moving into dolphin pose. So coming onto the forearms, we're going to hook the toes and lift up through the hips. So if you're finding that having parallel arms makes this pose really tough, you can always bring the fingertips, so interlace the fingers and make more of a pyramid shape instead. And that can help ease it a little bit until we build a little bit more strength through the shoulders. So remember, taking the toes closer to you is going to make it more intense. Taking them a little bit further away is just going to ease the pose a little bit for you. Keep pressing into the forearms. And we're going to lower back down to the knees, coming back into that supported camel, so taking hold of the lower spine again. So we move the hips forward, chest lifts. Coming to neutral, and we're going to try and move ourselves into a ragdoll now. So use your fingertips just to help guide yourself up. Maybe separate the feet a little bit and hold on to the elbows. Coming into a ragdoll. So taking that bit of a lift up through the back of the legs, letting everything hang forward, making sure our neck is nice and loose as well. And then inhale, lift, bringing the feet together, rise up, taking the hands to prayer, gentle back bend here, so don't push this too far. Hips forward, gently come back. And then guiding back down, forward fold. Halfway lift. Use your fingertips or hands onto the shin. We want straight legs there here if you can. Let's guide down onto our knees again. Coming back into that supported camel. Taking hold of the lower spine. So shoulders rolled out, chest lifted up. Moving forward with our hips. Moving up through centre, we're moving into downward dog this time. So taking the hands down, lifting up through the hips. Give it a little pedal out through the legs now. When you feel okay, we're going to settle a bit more into the downward dog position. So for this first one, you may want to soften the knees a little bit more. We want to connect the ribs towards the thighs, shoulders rolled out. Keep that breath, feel the back of the body expand. We're going to roll ourselves forward into plank pose. You may just need to adjust the feet a little bit here. Go onto the knees if you need. Take an inhale. Exhale with control, coming onto your bellies. We're going to set up this Sphinx pose from here. So bringing the forearms onto the ground, keeping the head on the ground to begin. So if you already know that your back is tight, you may want to take the elbows a little bit further forward. If it always feels good, then bring them a little bit closer to you. So pressing into the ground with the forearms. Again, we're pulling the chest forward as we lift our head up, shoulders come back. So remember, if you feel the pinch, just take your elbows slightly further forward. We don't need to crank our neck too far back. We can just take a gentle gaze down towards the floor beyond the mat. And then lower our head back down to the ground. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to bring in some leg raises. So pressing into the ground. And then pressing down with our left thigh, we're going to lift up through the right leg. And lowering down at swap over side. So pressing down through the right thigh, lifting it through the left. and lowering down, taking the head down as well. So now we're going to bring the arms more into a cactus position. So try and bring the elbows in line with the shoulders. I'm going to take a bit of a stretch out through here. So I'm going to come onto my left fingertips to help guide me to roll over towards the right. Okay, so I'll swap over the side so you can see me. So I'm rolling over to the right. Please listen to what your body's got to say about all of this, because it can get quite intense quite quickly. You can either stay with the top leg just aligned with the bottom, or you can lift the top leg, bend the knee, and then bring the toes behind you. And release. Let's gently bring ourselves back onto our bellies, resting your head. Find your cactus arm position again. As we move over to the other side. So come onto your right fingertips to help guide you over towards the left. Either staying here or lifting that top leg, bending the knee and bringing it behind you. And releasing, coming back onto our bellies, and then sliding yourself back into a child's pose. So separating the knees if that feels okay for you, or bring them together if you feel a little bit more stable that way. And in your body and head, surrender down to the mat, pressing out through your fingertips. So reconnect with the breath if you've lost that pace. And then lifting ourselves up back onto our hands and our knees. So we're going to come into puppy pose now. So if this feels too much, you can go back to the variation where we're bringing the thighs together and just letting gravity work, letting our chest fall down. So the puppy pose will be taking your hands further out and then bringing the chest down towards the ground. So some of you may be on your forehead here. Some of you may be snug down. You may even better hook your chin to take your gaze forward. So remember, if it's too much, then find the variation. Another breath or two. Carefully guiding yourself out of the pose, back onto your hands and our knees and straight into downward facing dog. So hooking the toes, lifting ourselves up. And we're going to come into a low lunge now. So stepping forward with our right foot, lowering our back knee. Just going to lift the arms up, taking the weight forward. So remember, we want to try and get as much space between that foot and that back knee as we can. Weight again coming forward, the stretch is here across the hip flexor. We're going to move into half splits from here. So remember, there's many ways in which we can do this. We can either just come onto our fingertips, slide back and then adjust from there. Or if our hamstrings aren't quite ready for that yet, then we lift up, come onto the heel, straighten, and then move forward with our fingertips, okay? If your fingers are back here, that's okay. So to try and intensify, we can sort of pull the toes back towards us, and that can maybe help that stretch a little bit more through the back of the leg. So gently just guide yourself back into a bit of a low lunge, and we're going to come into a three-leg dog. So hooking the left toes, and that right leg is going to come up and out, or move into a four-leg dog if you feel better there. And we're going to come back into a low lunge on the same side. So right foot comes forward again. We're going to lower the left. We're going to bring a quad stretch into it for those that want to. So we can either stay here, bend the back knee, or if you want, we can grab hold the top of the foot with the right hand. Left hand comes to the ground and we squeeze in the heel towards the bum. So remember, if you do move into the position, Realise it's not quite for you this morning, you're not trapped in the pose, you can come out and use one of the previous options. And gently releasing, coming back into that half split. So finding whichever entry point that works best for you. Remember, we want to keep that leg straight. This is where we're finding the stretch through the back of the leg. Extend through the spine. Use what you need to find your balance. And then just guiding forward just enough so you can find a downward facing dog. So stepping back, settling ourselves. So finding the foundation of the pose, fingers spread wide, shoulders rolled out. Bringing our ribs towards the thighs, gaze through the legs. Feeling the back of our body expand through the breath. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So let's step forward with the left foot, drop the right knee down. Find that right distance that works for you. And this, for this first one, we just arms up, weight forward, just settling into the pose. Half splits, guiding back. And just bring yourself forward enough to bring yourself into three-leg dog. So the right toes are hooked, up and out through the left leg. You can stop off in four-leg dog if you prefer. And again, we're back on the same side, so stepping forward with the left foot, dropping the right knee, either staying again in this pose or bringing the quad stretch into it. So we're here, or using the hand to squeeze in. So we're keeping the weight moving forward, the heel moving towards the bum. It doesn't take long to feel the stretch through the quad in this position. And gently lowering down, finding that half split, however which way works for you. So if you're able to get quite deep into the pose, try and focus on really connecting the ribs towards the thighs, head going down towards the shin. And you can take the fingers beyond the foot to help sort of drape your body over the leg. So just move yourself forward enough to get you into downward facing dog. Now we're going to give pigeon a little whirl. So right knee towards right wrist. That leg slides back. So you want to find a bit of a diagonal through that front leg, making sure we're not too far. Rolling our bum over towards the right. So hips nice and centre. Start on your fingertips. See how this feels. Inhale. Staying here or coming a little bit deeper into the pose. You can come onto your forearms or even take your arms out and come onto the floor. So that's just bringing a little bit more weight into your leg. So that might help deepen the pose for you. But in doing that, again, try not to let your bum slide over to the right so you lose all of that stretch. So as you use your breath settling to the pose, continue to make those little adjustments. So I find that after a few breaths, you may be able to slide that back leg down back a little bit more so you can lower the hips further down to the ground. Another breath or two. Gently lifting up. And we're just going to guide ourselves back into downward facing dog. So hooking the back toes, stepping ourselves back. Little pedal out through the legs, should it feel good. And let's pop ourselves through the other side. So left knee, left wrist. Leg comes back as far as it can. So you want your hips as low to the ground as you're able to. That's it. So as we progress into this pose, our shin is going to come a little bit further up. But if you find then that you're rolling over like this, bring it down a bit so you can center your hips. So start on your fingertips. See how you feel. Remember, you can stay here if this is enough, or deepen yourself into the pose. Well done. Gently lifting up, hooking the toes. Let's find our way back, downward facing dog. Take a breath. And let's walk ourselves to the front of the mat for another little ragdoll. So you want your feet separated slightly on the elbows again. So your weight is slightly into the balls of the feet, lifting up through the back of the legs. And then inhale, lifting up, bringing the feet together. We're going to take our hands into prayer at the top and then moving over towards the right, pressing out through the left side. So a bit of a banana shape. Through center, other side. Through center. Gentle back bend, so hips forward, chest up as I move myself back. And then taking the hands onto the lower spine and taking it deeper should you want to, okay? Hips forward, chest up. Gently guiding ourselves up. Hands down by our side. Let's take a breath. Inhale. And exhale. We're going to move through a salutation A. So let's inhale, up through the arms. Exhale, forward fold. So you can either take your hands behind your legs and bring them down towards the ground. Halfway lift. Stepping or jumping back, depending on how energetic you're feeling. Find plank or come onto your knees, ready for chaturanga. Inhale. Exhale, keeping the elbows next to the body as we guide ourselves down with control. Inhale, lift up. Facing dog. If this is too much on the back, then bend the elbows. Then moving into downward dog, either taking your hips straight up, or remember there's always the option to guide back and then come up from here. Taking a breath. So if you're finding all the weight is falling into your wrists in downward dog, bring the ribs towards the thighs, maybe even soften the knees. Stepping forward to the front of the mat, taking that halfway lift again. Forward fold. Rising up. And again, take ourselves over to the right. Through center, to the left. Through center, gentle bend, so don't go crazy. And then find that support if you want to take it deeper. Up to neutral spine, hands down by your side. Let's take a breath. And exhale. So we're going to do an extended side angle pose now. So keeping the right foot at the front of the mat, we're going to take our left one down. So this is the long one. So foot down as far as you comfortably can. Then taking that hinge in that knee. We're all going to bring our forearm onto the thigh. So same with triangle, moving our hips forward, pulling our ribs in. We're going to take the left arm just up towards the sky though, not over our ear right now. And if it feels okay, we're going to bend the elbow and try and bring it on the top of our thigh. So if this is too much on the shoulder, don't worry, just keep it up here. So in doing this, what happens is we end up pulling up with that left hip, okay, moving out of the pose. We want to keep finding that straight line, sort of from my armpit down towards my toes, okay? So if you're rising up with the hips, just keep guiding down. Taking our gaze down, we're going to pivot the back toes, come onto the knees, and then keep your left hand on the ground, right hand inside of the right knee as we press that knee away from it. So let the foot curl up as you do it, pressing the knee out. And bringing ourselves back to centre, framing the front foot, we're just going to draw the feet together. Again, forward fold. We can even bend the knees if we want. And inhale, lift up. Just stretching out through the fingertips this time. Hands down by our side. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to swap over sides so you can see me. So keep the left foot at the front of the mat. Right one down as far as you can get it. Bringing the left forearm onto the thigh. So just guiding your hips forward, moving your ribs in, right arm up towards the sky. Just note what's happening with that right hip. Are we coming out of the stretch? Keep moving deep into it, okay? So find that stretch out through the hips. If you want to and it feels okay, taking that right hand, bringing it behind you. So try not to let your chest move forward. We keep working on moving the hips forward, pulling the ribs in. So we're still stacking over that front leg, just like triangle. So releasing the arm, taking the gaze down to the ground, lowering the back knee. This time our right hand is on the ground, left hand inside of the knee, opening the knee up. So foot comes open at the same time. So it's really common to then pull the hips back with this. Keep guiding the weight forward as you come out with the leg. So we can let that right hip drop, that's fine. If this is too much, you can stay here, okay? Guiding through centre, framing the foot, drawing the feet together. Halfway lift, forward fold, up we come, hands down by our side. Back to the top of the mat, let's take a couple of breaths. Let's inhale, exhale. One more time in, and exhale. Let's inhale, lift it through the arms. Exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift. So we're going to step back into a crescent lunge. We're going to bring the arms though in line with the back leg. So stepping back with the right, hooking the toes, lifting the body up, but our arms are sliding down the direction of the back leg. I'm pulling my heart forward. I always feel like it's like running in the wind. Okay, so I'm pressing forward my body, pressing back with my fingertips. So lifting up, just moving into our crescent. So I want to move into standing pigeon from here. So some of you may be able to bring the weight forward and hook over with the ankle. Some of you may want to step forward to allow that to then happen. So hooking the ankle just above the knee, flexing through the foot, hands to prayer. You can either stay here or we try and sit down into the pose, okay? So my knees coming forward, I want this standing leg thigh to eventually be parallel with the ground, okay? So guiding down. So some of you may have your elbows being able to touch one knee and one ankle. If we're low enough down, we can maybe bring the body over those legs, okay? But take it gentle. Use whatever facilities you have around you for balance support. And gently guide up. And we're going to move ourselves into warrior two if we can. Bring both feet down if you need. Unhook, taking the back leg back. And then it's warrior two. Reverse warrior. Back arm down, back leg. Now what we're going to do now is windmill our way forward. Pivot the back foot. So we're going to come into like a low lunge. And my right hand's going to come to the ground. My right knee's going to come to the ground. And I'm going to open my lunge up a bit. So my left knee is going to come open with my foot. My left arm is going to open wide. So from the front, look like this. And then bring myself back to centre. So we're going to try and reverse that flow. So we're going to do it nice and slowly. So we're going to move back into reverse warrior. So let's hook the back toes, using your hands to guide you up. Bring the back foot down, right arm down the back leg, open up into reverse warrior. So then we were in warrior two. So rising up, settling into warrior two. So then we were in standing pigeon. So we can hook the toes, take as many steps forward as you want to hook the foot over and settle into that pose again. Again, you can just stay standing, that's fine, letting the knee guide back. We're going to move now into crescent, so guiding yourself up and hooking the foot, right foot hooks back, up with the arms. Arms in line with the back leg, pressing forward. And then soften everything so we can frame the front foot with our hands and then guide both feet together, coming into that forward fold. Inhale, up we come. Hands down by our side. Let's take a couple of breaths here at the top. Inhale and exhale. And again in, exhale. So we've got that to do on the other side. Let's inhale through the arms. Exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift. Now step back, left leg, arms in line with that back left leg. So we lift up through the body slightly, press back with the fingertips, pull forward with the heart. Lifting up through the arms and body into our more traditional crescent lunge. So now we're going to find that standing pigeon. So however works for you. So again, some of you may be able to just wait forward. Use as many steps as you need though. So hooking the ankle above the knee. We can stay here, we can work on the balance, or we can settle ourselves into the pose. So if you are staying standing, then you may want to find a little bit of softness through that standing leg so we're not locking the knee out. So everyone coming up and moving into our warrior two. So unhooking, taking the back leg down, arms out, warrior two. Reverse, back arm down, back leg. Moving into that little open lunge, let's windmill the arms, pivot the back foot, My left hand comes to the ground, my right knee opens up, my right arm comes back and opens up through my chest. Moving back to reverse warrior. So gently coming out of the pose, we're going to hook the back toes to lift ourselves up enough to come into that reverse warrior. Warrior two. And let's move forward to the front of the mat into that standing pigeon. So you may want to pivot on that back foot first. Bring yourself forward, hooking ankle over the knee. So just take a minute, find the balance, then decide what we're doing. Are we staying here or are we going to try and sit into the pose? Gliding back up. The next one is crescent. So unhooking the left foot, stepping back, arms lifted. Bringing our arms now in line with the back leg. Soften everything to frame the foot. Bring the feet together, moving into a forward fold. And then inhale, rising up. Hands down by our side. Take a couple of breaths. Inhale and exhale. We're going to come into a Malasana squat now. So feet roughly mat distance apart, toes pointing outwards, hands to prayer. Let's inhale and exhale, moving down, listening to your knees. You may want to stop here if this is too much, or we may better come all the way down. So just a reminder, our feet are going to want to be different distances apart depending on who we are and how we're put together, okay? So you're not necessarily going to look like me to find the pose, okay? So take them out which way you need to. If your heels are off the ground, then that's okay. You can either use something underneath them or just use something to hold on to. That's fine too. Once we're here, we're working on eventually lifting elbows inside of the knee. Another breath. And now let's gently lower ourselves down to the ground. So use your hands, we'll just come onto your bum. Just take the legs out in front of you for a moment. Just hands by your thighs, lifting up through the body. Let's just find a couple of breaths. You can close your eyes. And open the eyes. Let's move into a forward fold. So bringing the right foot inside of the left leg. So you want that left foot, knee and foot up, hands to prayer, lift, extend, and then over we go. So remember your options are either strap, floor, or if you're far enough over, back of the left hand onto the sole of the foot, reach round with the right. So eventually you may be grabbing hold of the wrists. In addition to that, you know, if you're far enough down, it may even be a block that you end up putting there to really get that ribs over the thigh, head moving down towards the shin. And let's gently lift ourselves up from here. So we're going to grab hold of this right leg. So you're either going to be able to get it into your elbow creases, so your knee and your foot. If that's not happening, just hold it the best that you can, okay? So lift up through the spine. You want to bring the shin as high up as you can and closer to the chest. And then you're going to rock it like a little baby. So one side to the other. So again, you don't have to be holding like this, however works, okay? But try and find that full movement of the hip here. Now grabbing hold of the sole of the foot with both hands, you're going to extend out through the leg, okay, the best that you can. So for those of you who want to, we can try and bring the knee or the shin a little bit closer towards your head, not the other way around. And we're going to bend the knee now and draw it back diagonally. Take a few breaths here. One more time. Let's extend, lift up. And then knee guiding back diagonally. So we'll have a quick go at compass whilst we're here. So you want this arm to come as high up on, you're aiming to get it up towards your shoulder, okay? That's the ultimate where we need to get it, but don't worry if you're not quite there yet. We can still do something with this pose. Okay, high up as you can. Left hand over the top of the foot, grabbing the edge. Right hand onto the floor to stabilise you. And then we start to straighten that right leg, okay? Sometimes bending this left one on the floor can help with your balance a little bit. So I'll leave you to decide what works best for you from there. Well done. Well done. Gently unhooking out of this. Giving yourself a little shake out through the legs. And let's do that little number on the other side. So you keep extending out through the right, bring the left one in. Let's start with our fold. Hands to prayer, lift. Over we go. Another breath or two. And then lifting up. And let's gather our left hand baby into our arms. So either elbow creases or just the best that you can, okay? Try and keep some lift through the spine as much as you're able to and bring the shin in towards you, okay? And little rock from side to side. So we're moving over my body, behind diagonally. Front of my body, behind diagonally. Taking hold of my foot, we're going to extend out. Again, bringing it towards your head, if you feel like it. And bending the elbow, we're going to draw it back, diagonally back, okay? Not just back behind us. Take a couple of breaths. And let's extend again. And then diagonally back. And let's give compass a go on this side. So we want the arm, so put your arm underneath your knee. You want it as high up as you can get it. Right hand over the top of my foot, grabbing the edge, so it's on top of the foot. Left one on the ground. Then I'm pushing my chest forward, as then I lift up through that leg. So it isn't just going to be flexibility that's at play here, although that's a large amount, obviously. It's also going to be sort of how long our legs and our arms are as well that's going to play a part in this. And then gently gathering in, unhooking yourself. Little work through the knees. We're just going to come into a quick forward fold, and then we're going to give hero pose a go. So let's hand into prayer, up we go. Really stretch up high through the body and then over we go. So holding onto the feet however feels good for you, or the floor or the strap. And let's gently lift up from here. So hero pose, there are lots of variations of this. So if you have knees that don't like being moved in all directions, please be sensible with your approach to this, but there are different ways of doing it. So I'll go through, you can either follow me or you can move into the pose if you know what you're on about. So we're going to come onto the knees. So the idea is to sit like, you know, like children sit quite often when they're watching TV. So your legs come outside of your calves and your bum comes down towards the ground, okay? So this in itself isn't accessible for everyone. So an alternative here, we're maybe just doing one at a time, okay? And you can just bend one leg at a time from here. So from here, what we want to eventually move to is laying down on the ground whilst in this position. So we've got a few steps. So you can either just bring the hands behind you on the fingertips, opening the chest. Or it could be that I can get down onto my forearms. Again, you can do this with one leg bent as well. We can just do one on each side. If that's feeling good, then we gently bring ourselves onto the floor, lifting up through the arms. Well done. So if you are doing one side and then the other, you may want to take a little swapsy over now. So again, it can be here or here into the pose. And then gently, carefully bringing yourself up, unhooking yourself the best you can. We're going to move into a downward facing dog. So getting into that dog however feels good, either on your knees or folding over the legs to step yourself back. Little pedal out there through the legs again. Find yourself settled into your downward facing dog. And then we're going to turn the right knee towards the centre, stretch out through the left side. So pull the left hip back. And then bring ourselves back through centre and the other side. Left knee towards the centre. Pull back with the right hip. And through centre. Another couple of breaths here. So again, just focus on that widening of the back body through the breath. Finding that count, that pace that suits you. And then gently bringing yourself to seated. And then we're going to come onto the floor, onto our back, and guide the knees into the chest. Maybe a little roll from side to side. Let's take the head up towards the knees. And then resting down, coming into our happy or Mardy baby. Taking the soles of the feet up towards the sky, holding onto the edge, drawing our knees down to the ground. So remember, you don't have to necessarily take both legs at the same time. We can just do one and then the other. It's only half as happy or half as Mardy at a time. So the knees are gently guiding down towards the ground. You're finding that opening through the hip and the groin. Focus on having that spine uncurling onto the mat. If you're doing one side and then the other, you may want to swap now. And then let's draw the feet together. We're going to let our feet just rest onto the ground now. So you still want to bring the hips as close, the feet as close to your hips or your bum as you comfortably can. But let your knees just hang out. Grabbing hold of the elbows or even the wrists if that works better for you, taking the arms over the head. You want to try and have your arms rested onto the ground though where you can, so you feel comfortable. We're going to do 3 nice big breaths here. So we're going to deeply inhale, then we're just going to hold at the top for a couple of seconds. So deep in, taking as much air as you can. And then just hold here at the top. And then take the exhale out through the mouth. Expelling all that air. Next round, deep in. Holding at the top. Exhale. One more time in. Hold. Exhale. Letting your breath find its way back to its natural pattern now. We're going to move into our Shavasana. So if you like it here, you can stay here and make some adjustments with your body so you're laying in a more comfortable position. Remember, there's no real rules in my opinion with this position as long as you can feel rested. So if that's on your belly, then lay on your belly. So make those adjustments with your body to allow yourself just to seep into the mat. And then just guiding your attention just to this moment. Whether it's on the breath or maybe a sound in the room. And just keep pulling our attention. If it gets lost, just back in. And ourselves just absorb the fruits of our practice. A few more moments here. A gentle movement now through your fingers and your toes. Arms overhead, nice big long stretch. Guide your knees in gently. And let's find your way gently up to seated where we began. So resting the hands however feels good, extending through the body, softening the shoulders. Let's take a gentle inhale, softly out, and again inhale, exhale, hands at prayer at the heart. Let's take a moment to begin our weekend, positive thoughts and a full and grateful heart. Gentle inhale, softly out, and Namaste.